Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, March 26, 2024. I hereby call local government full committee to order. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Representatives Alexander, Burkhart, Carr, Doggett, Hale, Helton Haynes, Holsclaw, Love, Martin, McKenzie, Miller, Moon, Raper, Reedy, Rudd, Shaw, Slater, Stevens, Thompson, Warner, Vice Chairman Wright, Chairman Crawford.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The wanted to take privilege here and recognize some folks that's with us today. The Tennessee Association of Housing Authority and Redevelopment. If you guys would please stand. It's their day on the Hill, guys. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to recognize Mr. Mike Miller from Hardeman County, who's with the Housing Authority Group. And I also want to recognize his daughter, Miss Bethany Miller, who is one of our local county commissioners, who's here shadowing me today. So if y'all would help me make a welcome, I'd appreciate it.
Any other personal orders or announcements? Seeing none, today we got 31 bills on the calendar. We will try our best to get as many of them done as possible. So we're ready to get started. We'll start with item number 1, House Bill 133 by Leader Lamberth. Got a proper motion and second. I do see we have a drafting code. Can you please give us your code, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It should be drafting code 016044 that came out of the subcommittee.
That is correct. Do I have a motion? Proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like for us to place the amendment on the bill to be discussed?
Yes, sir, please, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, we'll be voting on amendment 016044 going on to House Bill 133. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It just puts the petition deadline, that is the first week of April now, up to the first week of March.
You've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Is there any questions? Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote. All those in favor of House Bill 133, moving on to calendar and rules, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Item number 2 on today's agenda is Senate Joint Resolution 924, and I believe it's Representative Reagan in here. Without objection, we'll roll this to call the chair. Item number 3, it is House Bill 2096 by Chairman Vaughn. We have a proper motion and second. Chairman Vaughn, you are recognized on your bill. I do see we have a drafting code. Can you please give us your code?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is amendment drafting code 16168.
That is correct. Proper motion and second has been made on the amendment. Would you like for us to place the amendment on the bill to be discussed?
Yes, sir, please.
Without objection, we're ready to vote on amendment number 16168 going on to House Bill 2096. Please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized for explanation, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman and committee, right now election commissions are authorized to select what type of voting equipment that they're going to purchase, and they're required to use the county procurement process, and the county is required to fund that. Well, what we've seen in the past is that it can be, if the funding body does not agree with the election commission, then there is a stalemate and there has been lawsuits filed. And so what this does is try to provide a little bit of clarity to that situation. This bill will allow the election commission, totally at their discretion, to choose whether to enter into the contract to lease or an option agreement for election equipment when that equipment and the destruction of old equipment is being paid for by federal or state grants. That's the only situation. If the money's coming from the feds or the money's coming from us, then they would be able to select and procure. But if the county commission, if it's just a standard maintenance deal to where they're buying new machines and there's not a grant involved, then it would still stay the same way to where the county commission and their procurement process is followed. And so that's what this bill does, sir.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor on House Bill 2096. Any questions from the sponsor? We'll start with Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I'm not understanding this. My understanding was and I read some of the code that right now it's the main responsibility of the county governing body, normally the county commission and county mayor to decide what the best voting machine is, and then of course fund it as well. But you're saying something different.
Right. It's my understanding
Chairman
that it is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. It's my understanding that it is based upon the recommendations of the election commission to that governing body to what equipment to choose, because they're the ones that run the elections. And if not, then why would we have an election commission if they weren't completely in charge of the election? And so as you're well aware, in Shelby County, we ran into a situation to where the county commission simply said, we're not going to fund these machines until you agree with the ones that we want. And that's still tied up in court. I think it's a moot issue now because they eventually came to a settlement, but this is to prevent that from happening again.
Right.
Representative Thompson.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, I'm well aware of Shelby County too. But, this affects the other 94 counties as well. Yeah. So I think, we understand that the current law has a collaboration between the election commission and the county commission to make these decisions. But this bill, as I understand it, would put the entire decision as to what kind of voting machine with the election commission, and then give it to the county commission to find the funding for it. Is that correct?
Chairman Vaughn.
No, sir. This says in the instance that the election commission applies for a state or federal grant and receives that, then they would be in charge of procuring that equipment. If it's a regular routine purchase and there's no disagreement, then naturally it goes the way it typically does. But this is only for grant funds that come in directly to the election commission. We're giving them purchasing authority whenever that's the situation.
Representative Thompson.
Okay, so so you're saying that let's take section 2 out. So it's the normal, no grant funds from state or federal. So it's, in other words, if that's not in there, then it's the same situation now that there's a recommendation versus a mandate by the election commission to buy new voting machines.
Chairman Vaughn.
Yes, unless it is a state or federal grant, then the system works as it's set up today. The reason that we're pursuing this is because last time, due to the stalemate of the county commission and the election commission over these machines, it had to be Secretary of State basically loaned us machines for us to have enough to finish an election. And so that's the reason behind this. This sets up situations where these grants are available, but we're not changing the normal procurement system outside of that.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the list, we have Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Vine. Just to kind of follow up on that line of questioning, do the county commissioners support this legislation, or have you had a conversation with them?
Chairman Vaughn.
I have not had a conversation with them, no, sir.
Okay.
Representative Miller.
Well, I would assume that they don't support this legislation. But what we're really doing here is giving unelected officials authority over elected officials, because the county commissioners are elected officials. However, the commissioners of elections are not. So is that in essence what we're really doing?
Chairman Vaughn.
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, sir. What we're doing is when federal or state grants are used to completely pay for voting machines, then it gives that right to the Election Commission to enter into contracts. That's what we're doing. What we're trying to do is avoid stalemates that keep people from having ample opportunity to have fair and free elections.
Representative Miller for follow-up.
Yes, based on his last statement, now it becomes a question of fair and equal elections. Are we suggesting that the county commissioners are not for that as much as the election commission?
Chairman Vaughn.
No, sir, not at all. What I'm stating is that we have empirical data that whenever there's disagreement between those two bodies, regardless of who's responsible for the disagreement, then we have seen, in fact, that election machines have not been procured, which then we had to engage in emergency borrowing from the Secretary of State in order to conduct our elections the way they needed to be. And so what this does is this keeps that from, hopefully will eliminate that from happening in the future.
Just the last statement, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
More so, again, we are saying we will give that authority because of the conflict. We will give the authority to a non-elected body as opposed to the elected body. In essence, that's exactly what we're doing here. And if that's the kind of message we want to send, then I will have to be opposed to this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, both
You're-
chairmen.
You're welcome. Representative Alexander.
Thank you, and thank you, sponsor, for bringing this bill. The point is that the county is not paying for it because it's coming out of federal or state grants. And so there's every reason why the election officials should be able to order the machines that they feel is the best, that they've been trained on and learned about, without having to involve the county commissioners to get it approved, since they're not paying for it. Correct?
Chairman Vaughn.
Thank you, sir. And yes, ma'am, that is correct. I would never say that it's not the county commission's responsibility to take care of county dollars, county taxpayer dollars. That
Yeah.
this bill does nothing
That's right.
with regards to that.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Sponsor Yield. In terms of federal grants, would it be fair to say that basically your larger election commissions like yours, maybe Nashville, Knoxville, those would be getting federal state grants? Small elected commissioners basically don't get them anyway. Is that a fair statement?
Chairman Vaughn.
I would, I think a fairer statement than that, Representative Shaw, would be is that I can't speak to that because all I know is the election commission and situation that I'm familiar with. I don't know that a smaller rural area might ever apply for state or federal grants. I'm not even sure what federal grants are out there and the requirements for them. But what this does is this does pretend to the fact that if there is a situation, an untenable situation of disagreement between the county commission and the election commission, the folks that we've charged with conducting these elections have an opportunity to do what they can to get that equipment in so that it doesn't negatively affect the election itself.
Representative Shaw.
Well, I did a little bit of research, and I don't think smaller, my election commissions, I've never known them to apply for grants in the first place. So it would be business as usual with them. Would that be correct?
Chairman Vaughn.
Yes, sir. That is my understanding.
Thank you.
Next on the list is, we're back to Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Legal may,
Oh, Mr.
Go ahead, sir.
Let me, you did catch something that says, the county election commission shall select the voting machines to be purchased for use in the county. And then they ensure the destruction of the voting machines when the machines become obsolete. That's the language of this.
Representative Miller.
are you referring to Representative Shaw or are you?
I was going to point that out to Representative Shaw. I wanted to
Okay.
clarify that.
You're recognized, sir.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Yes.
Representative Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And legal may be able to answer this question. Several times you've mentioned federal grants. Normally, federal grants comes with regulations. If in fact, and legal, I don't know, you may be able to answer this. If in fact the federal government, based on this grant, says that they want some input on the selection of the vendor or the machines, would that be legal? I guess that's my question.
Chairman Vaughn?
Thank you. I would assume myself, Representative Miller, that that would be a determining factor on whether the Election Commission determined that they would apply for such a grant. Because grants are typically applied for. And so if you saw that you were going to be, that if you welcomed that input from them, then that would be an acceptable grant to pursue. But if you were not interested in having that input, then I would say that that's probably a grant that you would not pursue.
Any, Representative Miller?
Okay, so assuming the Shelby County Commissioners or the Shelby County Election Commission applies for a federal grant and federal grant says, look, here's what you got to do. And the local election commission says, no, we will not apply for this grant. Guess where that goes back to? The grant doesn't have anything to do with it at that point, but we still give that local election commission the right to determine who's going to pay for the machines and who the vendor will be, based on that example. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, guys. Next on the list is Representative Martin. Previous questions being called. Without objection, we're going to vote on House Bill 2096 as amended. All those in favor of it moving on to calendar and rules, please say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
We're going to jump back to item number 2. We have we got a proper motion on the Senate Joint Resolution 924. Chairman Reagan, you are recognized on your Senate Joint Resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution declares March to be the financial, geez, I just forgot the term. Sir, thank you. And since we're almost through March, it's important to get this to the floor. With that, I ask for your support.
Any questions for the sponsor? Chairman Moon. Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on Senate Joint Resolution 924. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Item number 4 on today's agenda is House Bill 526. The sponsor has asked that this be rolled 1 week. Without objection, we'll roll it 1 week. Next on the list is House Bill 2993 by Representative Hastings. We got a proper motion in second. I have received a 2/3 majority vote of resolution in my office. You're recognized on House Bill 2993, sir.
Thank you. I was making sure, does this have an amendment that we need to put on, or is it traveling?
I don't see an
Okay.
amendment on it.
All right, yes, thank you. This private act came by a resolution from Town of Enville that just updates and cleans up some of the language in their charter. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor on House Bill 2993. Sir, any questions? Seeing none, without objection, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2993. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee.
Next on the list is House Bill 2244 by Chairman Farmer. Got a proper motion in second. I do see we have a drafting code. Can you please give us your drafting code number?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, it's 15328.
That is correct. Got a proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, it rewrites the bill.
Without objection, we're ready to vote on amendment 15328 going on to House Bill 2244. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Your bill's now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Yeah, thank you, members. What this bill does is allows for the city of Sevierville to, it would allow for a development and which is anticipated to be a capital investment of $500 million to come in right across the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. If y'all have been there to visit, if you're coming in, Knife Works on your right, on the left, you cross the river, the French Broad, and there's some farmland out there that's just never been developed. Well, some folks want to come in, they want to build some ball fields and some hotels, full service hotels, and the whole 9 yards. I've looked at the plans, it looks amazing. So what this will allow for is the city of Sevierville to vote locally to how to allocate their local 5% surcharge, tourism surcharge. That's also comes along with the tourist development zone, which the city of Sevierville has in place right now. That TDZ is set to end in 2034, but this will allow for the locals to vote by 2/3 vote, how to adjust that 5% to allow for this development and for them to move forward. So, members, that's the high level view of this. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2244. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Committee.
Item number 7, House Bill 2997 by Representative Hurt. We got a proper motion and second. I have received a 2/3 majority resolution. It's in my office. If anybody would like to see it, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee. House Bill 2997 is simply a private act to amend the charter of the town of Gates in Lauderdale County, which is in my district, and they're asking to make various changes and take actions. And I'll be glad to read through that if the committee would prefer me to, or I'll be at your will, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard the explanation of the bill by the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 2997. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Item number 8, House Bill 2985. Got a proper motion and second, and I have received 2/3 majority resolution, and I recognize Representative Martin.
Thank you, Committee and Chair. I'd like to take a personal order, if you don't mind, real fast.
Go ahead,
I have
sir.
my 2 most important constituents with us in the back, my wife, Krista, and our son, Steele. Welcome them to the House today.
Representative Martin, did you have to bring your family to pass this bill?
Yes,
today?
absolutely. All the pressure is on Steele. Does not need to see me fail this, guys.
Okay,
Come on.
all right. You're recognized.
Thank you, Committee and Chair. This will centralize our financial management for the Carroll County. We believe this is a great step to align with the Comptroller's goal to a better, more efficient government. Each year in his annual report, he asks us to do this, so we're following suit. With that, I stand ready for question.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Question has been called. We're ready to vote. Let me get back to my page. Sorry. We're ready to vote on House Bill 2985. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Next is House Bill 2986 by Representative Martin. I have received 2/3 majority resolution. You're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Committee and Chair. This again is another local private act from Carroll County. We are the last county in the state with 2 road supervisors. So this will get us down to 1 road supervisor. For the county, it will save money, be more efficient, and without decreasing productivity. So government working better for the people. With that, I stand ready for question.
That sounds like a campaign speech. We're ready to vote on House Bill 2986. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
2.
Next is House Bill 2989 by Representative Martin. Do I have a motion? Proper motion and second. I have received 2/3 majority resolution. You're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Committee and Chair. And this was another private act from my Gibson County folks, and this will help better realign their school board elections with state and national elections. It will lower cost and hopefully help increase voter turnout. With that, I stand ready for question.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative Miller.
Just curious, Mr. Chairman, how many counties do you represent? Thank you, sir.
Chairman, I mean,
Thank you, Chairman.
Representative Martin, you're
Thank you. I
recognized.
have 3 counties, 14 special school districts though, so it is a challenge, so.
You good? Representative Miller? Okay. All right. We're ready to vote on House Bill 2989. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, committee and chair.
House Bill 2995, without objection, will be taken off notice. House Bill 2994 by Representative Sherrill. Do I have a motion? Proper motion and second. Representative Sherrill, I have received a 2/3 majority resolution from your county. You're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This bill is in the 43rd District in Warren County that I allow to represent. It's just a simple bill to allow the town of Viola, which is a small town, which they have 5 members on their chamber, and they'd like to reduce it down so there'd be a mayor and 2 aldermen, and they're just asking that would be changed.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Just curious here. What's the population of Viola?
93.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2994. Moving on to calendar rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and members.
House Bill 2249 by Representative McLaren. I do have a motion. Is there a second? Properly seconded. I do see you have a drafting code. Can you please give us your number, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Chairman, I have drafting code 014107.
That is correct. We got a proper motion and second on the code, on the amendment. Would you like us to place it on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir, it rewrites the bill.
Without objection, we're going to place amendment number 14107 on to House Bill 2249. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee and members. If I could, Mr. Chairman, to take a point of privilege and recognize our Chief Windrow from Nolensville, who is here visiting this morning or afternoon. And if y'all could just make him feel welcome. Members, House Bill 2249 is a simple bill that puts some restrictions on homeowners associations. This came out of an issue in my county where a lady who was retired on a fixed income had lived in her neighborhood well before an HOA ever came to be. HOA does form itself later and says, well, we want to build a clubhouse and we're going to assess you $30,000. She says, well, I can't afford the $30,000. And she was to the point of thinking she was going to have to sell her house. So what this bill does is it requires a 2/3 majority vote of all members within the community to levy an assessment, a special assessment for a non-essential community item such as a swimming pool, a tennis court, clubhouse. It has no prohibitions on essential items such as roads or paving or landscape, anything like that. And that is pretty much what this bill does. So with that, I stand ready for questions and hopefully a positive vote.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Any questions? Representative Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They were assessing $30,000 from each member of the HOA.
Representative McLaren.
Give or take $30,000 of each member of the HOA for a clubhouse and a pool. Yes, sir.
Representative Thompson.
Really fancy one. No, my experience with HOAs, and there's lots and lots of them in my district. You can't get. I think I mentioned this in subcommittee. You can't get 2/3 people together to vote, just to attend, much less to vote yes on it. So, I would think it's pretty impossible. And if it were a different number, like majority of those attending or 2/3 of those attending or something like that, it might be more feasible. So I'll vote no on it because I don't think it's feasible, but otherwise it's a good idea.
Representative McLaren, do you have a response?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, next on the list is Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to ask, now, this just restricted to neighborhoods. It doesn't mean they couldn't build them someplace else, but just in neighborhoods, or is that anywhere within the city limits?
Representative McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Shaw speaks only specifically to homeowners associations. So in my neighborhood, for instance, we've got 14 homes. We would need 2/3 if we decided we wanted to put a pool in. We'd need 2/3 of each of the 14 homes there to show up to approve it. This does not apply for essential items. The board can still levy assessments for needed items for the community for the daily functioning. One last point I did not bring up, sir, is also, members, it prohibits HOAs from being able to foreclose on your house for a non-payment on a special item as well. So
Any other questions for the sponsor?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote on House Bill 2249 as amended. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
thank you, Chairman and committee.
House Bill 0835 by Representative Ritchie. Got a proper motion and second. We'll have to get this in order, so everybody please be patient. Representative Ritchie, I see we have 3 different drafting codes. Do we need to place all 3 of these, or are we going to just go with one?
No, Chairman, just drafting code 17221 rewrites the bill.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. Do I have a motion and a second? Proper motion and second. Would you like for us to place this on the bill for your discussion?
Yes, Chairman.
Without objection, we'll be voting on Amendment 17221 going on to House Bill 835. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The bill is now amended. Representative Ritchie, you're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. Committee, this bill came through this committee last year and passed and moved on to Finance Ways, and it had a fiscal note attached to it. So I re-referred it back here, so it gave me more time to sit down with the coordinator of elections and work on this to try to figure out how we could eliminate the fiscal note. The amended bill that's in front of you right now has accomplished that. It's now not significant. And what this bill does is it changes one word. Chairman had a bill that he ended up passing back in 2021, I believe it was. And during that time period, there was some technology that was taking place, updates with the Department of Safety, and out of worry that coordinator of elections might not be able to keep in line with what was in TCA, the word shall was changed to may back then. All we're doing is reverting that back to shall. So it says that the coordinator of elections shall compare the statewide voter registration database with the Department of Safety database to ensure non-United States citizens are not registered to vote in this state. And that's all it does, is takes it back to how it was before 2021. And with that, Chair, I stand ready for any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to the sponsor, does a list of non-U.S. citizens exist with the huge influx of people we've had coming across the border?
Representative Ritchie.
I'm not sure if there's an exact list. I know what this right here does is it just, and the coordinator of elections is already doing this. From chatting with him, this is something that they are currently in the process of doing, is comparing the Department of Safety's database. But outside of that, if there's another list, I wish there was, so that we had that information, but that's not what this bill is seeking to do. This is just making sure that we are going to be comparing the Department of Safety's database.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to reach a bill. Are you working from this amendment, this 006309?
No, sir.
Okay, because it says that it increases state expenditures.
The amendment is 017221.
So you're saying that that took all of the money off of it. So what exactly then are you doing with it?
Representative Ritchie.
So all we're doing with drafting code 17221, which rewrote the bill, is changing the word may to shall. So currently in TCA, it says the coordinator of elections may compare. This is just changing that to where the coordinator of elections shall compare the the statewide voter registration database with the Department of Safety.
Representative Shaw, follow up.
Yes, sir. I guess if you can tell me, what's your reason for that, doing that?
Representative Ritchie.
So the overall reason, logic on it, it was brought to me from a constituent that right now we have very secure elections here in the state of Tennessee to where we're comparing our voter database. But because this was changed from a shall to a may in, I believe it was 2021, we're just wanting to revert it back over and putting that word shall back in there.
Thank you.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what will be the punishment if a coordinator of election does not perform this perfunctory thing if this bill passes? What will happen to she or he?
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure. In reading the TCA code, I'm not sure what overall penalty would be in there. That would definitely be something that we could end up looking at or possibly ask legal, but my understanding, I'm not aware of what is there or not.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you. And that my colleague joked, but I'm kind of worried about that being a, potentially a fireable offense if, some counties are different than other counties. Some counties may take it really, really serious. Some counties have a high percentage of where these non-registered or non-registered citizens, non-United States citizens are actively working in their counties. So I would hate for it to be a fireable offense in Fentress County and not a fireable offense in Knox County. So I'm just trying to figure out where we're going with this piece of legislation.
Representative Ritchie, you have a response.
So looking at the coordinator of elections, my understanding is this is our coordinator of elections at the state level is comparing that database that's then fed to the local county levels.
Representative Doggett. Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Was it my understanding that this was current law back a few years ago where it said they shall compare with this, and now it changed to a may, you're just putting it back to a shall?
Representative Ritchie.
That is correct. Yeah, it was current law from 2012 to I believe it was 2021, and it was only changed because the Department of Safety was going through some technology updates and just didn't want to get in violation of that. But coordinator of elections has been doing this since then without missing it.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 835 as amended. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. It moves on to calendar and rules. If you'd like to be recorded
Thank you,
as a
Committee
no,
Chair.
please see the clerk. House Bill 2208 has been requested by the sponsor to be taken off notice. Without objection, we'll take it off notice. House Bill 2787 by Representative Barrett. Got a motion? Is there a second? Got a proper second. Representative Barrett, I do see that you have a drafting code. Can you please give us your drafting number?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have drafting code 015677.
That is correct. I got a proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay, without objection, we're voting on amendment 15677 going on to House Bill 2787. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on your bill.
If I may take a point of personal privilege, Mr. Chairman, I have some constituents here from Van Leer, Tennessee with the Amish School. If they'd stand up, let y'all recognize them today.
Great. Thank y'all for being with us today. Representative Barrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill comes to me from, and Senator Rose, from a builder in Shelby County that's seeking to address a shortage of affordable housing in Memphis, Shelby County. One of the issues that he's been running into with the building code currently, he's trying to build 3 and 4 unit homes. And in doing so, he's running into a building code issue that requires those residential properties to be sprinkled. And so this bill is seeking to address that, to lower the cost for these, to be able to have affordable housing opportunities increased in Shelby County. Currently, under the code, you can build 2-unit side-by-side residential properties without being sprinkled that have a 2-hour firewall. This bill would allow municipalities to opt in to change their code to lower that for also 3 and 4 unit properties, so that where you have 2 units over and above each other, or 1 unit down and 2 units up. This would allow the municipality to decide that we're going to lower that standard, either go to a 13D standard for the fire sprinkler system or remove it completely, as long as there's a 2-hour firewall in there. So again, this is something that we've taken from a model in North Carolina. The bill's already been passed there and put in law, and we're seeking to do that here in Tennessee, so that some of our urban areas that are really struggling to be able to create opportunities for affordable housing would have better chances of doing that. And this is, by the way, with this amendment, we're also limiting this application to only properties that are 5,000 square foot and less. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready to answer any questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Is there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2787. Moving on to finance. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. No. Bill moves on to finance.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Next on today's agenda is Senate Joint Resolution 923 by Chairman Lafferty. Got a proper motion in second. Chairman Lafferty, you're recognized on your Senate Joint Resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. Pretty simple, straightforward. In an age of division and despair, we all need a reminder that what we have in common as Americans is far greater and far more important than anything that divides us. The simple idea here of honor your hometown is to simply pay tribute to the cities, towns, and villages, neighborhoods, Native American reservations, and other communities that have grounded us and shaped our bonds with each other and our country. So with that, I ask for passage.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you let us know what's the name of your hometown?
Representative Lafferty.
So where I was born, where I was raised, where I reside currently.
Your hometown. Why don't you
Knoxville,
declare?
Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay, out of order. You've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Representative Miller, you're recognized. You pass? All right, anybody else? Questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on Senate Joint Resolution 923. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee.
Next on today's agenda is House Bill 2054 by Representative Eldridge. Do I have a motion? Proper motion in second. I do see we have a drafting code. Can you please give us your number, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. That is 014703.
That is correct. Do I have a motion on the amendment? Proper motion in second on the amendment. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir.
Without objection, we're placing amendment number 14703 on the House Bill 2054. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 1984, the Greenbelt Law was amended to establish a 15-acre cap. And at that time, there were very few farms that would meet that cap. And here we are 40 years later, and there's more farms that have grown beyond the acreage cap and are having to pay a higher tax rate because of their need to grow to become more efficient. So this move to 3,000 acres is to correct that.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Okay. I didn't see him. He needs to lean over a little more. All right,
Thank-
Representative Shaw,
Thank you,
you're
Mr. Chairman.
recognized.
Thank you. I need this member to tell me when my sheriff is gonna come pick me up, take me to church. This is off this bill. You've been promising me that ever since you've been here, and I hadn't got an answer yet.
Okay, I have no choice in this. You're out of order. Representative Eldridge, you can answer that question at your own risk.
I'll catch him in the hall.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the sponsor? Representative Alexander.
Thank you, sponsor, and thank you for bringing this bill. We need to do everything we can to protect agriculture and to help our farmers do the best they can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2054 as amended. Moving on to finance. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to finance.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Next on today's agenda is House Joint Resolution 858. Representative McKenzie, are you going to present from your seat?
It's the will of the chair. I'll go to the dais.
Without objection, Representative McKenzie will be speaking from the diocese. You're recognized, sir. We got a proper motion and second. Okay. I do see we have a drafting code. Can you
Yes,
please?
Mr. Chair, that drafting code is 013862.
Okay. We have a typo here. Give us that number one more time.
Yes, sir. 013862.
Okay, well, that's correct. Do I have a motion on the amendment? Proper motion, second on the amendment. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill, sir?
Yes.
Without objection, we're voting on Amendment 13662 going on to House Bill 858. Let me say that again, then. We're placing amendment number 13862 onto House Bill 858. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayors from across the state have been frustrated by our state's $50 per day limit on municipal codes violation for non-jury mitigated assessments. At the time, $50 a day for municipal fines was considered a hefty penalty. However, today, too many violators are more than happy to pay the $50 a day fine instead of adhering to the municipal code. The impetus for this resolution, as amended, came from mayors across this great state who want their local governments to be able to deter those codes violations by determining an infraction fee more in line with today's economy. This amendment simply gives local control to municipalities to determine their own fines. As of today, we have over 30 Tennessee mayors to sign on in support of this. Mayors from cities of Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, as well as Clarksville, Ripley, Murfreesboro, Tipton County, Hawkins County, from across this great state. With that, one thing I did want to address in that we talked about in subcommittee, this amendment will give the local authorities control. I think our caption had a dollar amount, but that dollar amount is not applicable. It gives for non-jury related offenses, it gives those locals the ability to set something that's reasonable.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Do we have any questions? We'll start with Representative Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Representative McKenzie. I don't know if I'm going to hurt you or help you on this piece of legislation. And of course, I've got the Constitution of Tennessee open in front of me. And as it reads, Section 14, fines exceeding $50 to be assessed by jury. No fine shall be laid on any citizen of this state that shall exceed $50 unless it shall be assessed by a jury of his peers who shall assess the fine at the time they find the fact if they think the fine should be more than $50. And what you're saying with this amendment is adding this section does not apply to a civil penalty imposed by a municipal court for a violation of a municipal ordinance. And then you look in the footnote, we go down to the Attorney General's opinion, And it states a civil penalty for a regulatory violation does not constitute a fine such that a person so cited is entitled to a jury trial, was the Attorney General's opinion 00-189, which was written 12/20 of 2000. And of course, I've got that opinion in front of me. And Mr. Chairman, this may be a necessity to go out of session to hear from legal. But in that opinion, Article 6, Section 14 of the Tennessee Constitution provided that a citizen may not be fined more, what I just read, but the Tennessee Supreme Court has concluded this provision does not apply to civil penalties such as a penalty imposed for violation of city ordinances because such a proceeding is civil and not criminal. So, Mr. Chairman, if we can go out of session, and the question that I would like to ask legal is, I'm thinking we're trying to clean up our Constitution if I'm understanding what I'm just reading.
Without objection, we will go out of session to hear from legal. Legal, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. So yes, you are correct. This would be a clarification in the Constitution to accurately describe what the Supreme Court of Tennessee has, how they have interpreted that provision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Without objection, we'll go back in session. Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The caption here mentioned $3,000, and this doesn't. You say it's reasonable. Does this mean that the city of, just name one, could set the fine at 5,000, at 10,000, 100,000? Is it unlimited? It's just up to them to set it?
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, as it relates to an exorbitant amount, you know, those would be more in line with criminal. So if you don't have the silk fencing up, I wouldn't see that being $100,000 a day fine in any court. But it as Representative Reedy said, it clears up what the intent was when this ordinance kind of when the Attorney General offered his opinion. It does, but to answer your question directly, no, it does not have a ceiling, but it does not, but it will be done in a municipal court.
Representative Martin, before you speak, legal has an answer to your question. If it would be okay, I will go out of session and let him give you the answer to that. Without objection, we're out of session. Legal, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Josh Houston, Legal Services. So statutorily, municipalities are capped at $500 for a violation of an ordinance. And that's in 654-308, 654-306, and I believe in Title VII as well, but it's in all municipalities. It is $500.
Question for legal?
Yes. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Mr. Houston, that if we adopted this, that the most that you could get would be a $500 fine from the city going forward. So there is a cap.
Yes, that is correct. And unless the statutory scheme has changed, then it would stay at $500 regardless of this constitutional amendment.
Thank you.
Question for legal, Representative Burkhart.
Yes, sir. Just a clarification. Is that $500 total or $500 per day?
Legal Services.
I'll just read the statute. It says the legislative body of any other municipality may establish a monetary penalty not to exceed $500 for each violation of an ordinance of such municipality.
Any other questions for legal? Seeing none, we'll go back in session. And Representative Martin passes. Any other questions for the sponsor? Questions been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Joint Resolution 858. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, gentlemen. We're going to revote, and everybody needs to be loud where I can hear it correctly. So if we don't get it right on this one, then we'll do a roll call. But all those in favor of House Joint Resolution 858, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No. Yelling doesn't count.
Hey, the microphone on too.
All right, guys, I hate to do the committee this way, but we're gonna do a roll call vote. So, Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready, the way we will be voting is a yes or yay will be to pass the bill on to finance. A nay will be to not pass it on. So, Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Representative Alexander. Alexander votes aye. Representative Burkhart. Burkhart votes aye. Representative Carr. Carr votes no. Representative Doggett. Doggett votes no. Representative Hale. Representative Haynes. Haynes votes no. Representative Holsclaw. Holsclaw votes aye. Representative Martin. Martin votes no. Representative Love. Love votes aye. Representative McKenzie.
Aye.
McKenzie votes aye. Representative Miller. Miller votes aye. Representative Moon. Moon votes no. Representative Raper. Raper votes aye. Representative Reedy. Representative Reedy passes. Representative Rudd. Rudd votes no. Representative Shaw. Shaw votes aye. Representative Slater. Slater votes no. Representative Stevens. Stevens votes aye. Representative Thompson. Thompson votes aye. Representative Warner. Vice Chairman Wright. Vice Chairman Wright votes no. Chairman Crawford.
No.
Chairman Crawford votes no.
That was his vote.
Chairman Crawford, you have 10 ayes, 9 noes, 1 present not voting.
All right, House Joint Resolution 858 moves on to Finance, Ways and Means. All the,
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Item 20, House Bill 1967 by Representative Miller. Proper motion.
That's a
and
close one.
Second, Representative Miller, you're recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1967. Current law allows local waterworks and legislative bodies to approve water and sewer projects by a proper ordinance. The bill does not change current law, and it is permissive to local government. In some circumstances, approving by proper ordinance may take 6 to 8 weeks. This legislation says you can do it by resolution, which could take maybe an hour. For larger counties with large volumes of projects, it could reduce meeting times as much as an hour. Of course, we know these resolutions in some cases take up to 3 different readings. So with that, Mr. Chairman, ask for approval.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1967. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill moves on to calendar and rules. Next on today's agenda is item 21, House Bill 1229. Representative Hemmer, he has asked that this bill be rolled 1 week. Without objection, we'll roll this 1 week. House Bill 1850 by Representative Reedy. He will be presenting from the diocese.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do see we have some drafting codes, sir. Which one would we like to go with?
The First, should we get a motion and a second on the bills?
You're in proper form.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only amendment barcode that I want to put on this bill is 16268.
16268, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Would you like us to, do I have a motion on the amendment? Proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir, please.
Without objection, we're ready to place amendment number 16268 onto House Bill 1850. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, I'm sorry. We had one about going to floor, and I'm just, it was funny. It was funny. Okay, let me think about where we're at. We got the amendment on the bill. We're ready for the discussion of the bill. Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all need a good laugh, but thank you. A summary of this bill. House Bill 1850 prohibits a county or municipality from adopting or enforcing an ordinance to prohibit the growing of vegetable garden or keeping 6 or fewer chickens or rabbits on a single-family residential lot. In other words, this bill allows county or local governments, they can adopt reasonable ordinances or rules regarding home gardens as well as raising rabbits and chickens, but not ban them. The original bill allowed condominiums to set its own rules regarding gardens, rabbits, and chickens. The amendment substitutes communities organized by covenants in the place of work condominium. Most neighborhoods where gardens, chicken, and rabbits would be present are not condominiums. They are HOAs organized under restrictive covenants, so this includes them in the bill. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions.
All right, we got people lining up on the list here, so we'll start with, I think Representative Shaw, you were first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now help me understand this. They can raise up to 6 or as many as they want to.
Chairman Reedy?
Rabbits in particularly.
Okay, in the bill, of course, it's going to prohibit a rooster. That's all understand that.
Yeah.
So if you got a rooster, go ahead and stick it in the pot. But it's setting the minimum distance between an animal shelter and a residential structure other than the animal's owner's residence. So this is the language in the bill. Minimum requirements for combined housing and outdoor space of at least 20 square feet per chicken and 9 square feet per rabbit. So it's setting parameters in there so you're not having a whole backyard full of animals. There's also requirements for sanitary conditions to prevent accumulation of animal waste in a quantity sufficient to create an offensive odor or attraction of pests. A requirement that the chickens or rabbits may only be kept in the side or rear yard of a residence. Does that help you, Representative Shaw?
Representative Shaw?
No, sir, it doesn't help me much because I guess, first of all, if I lived in the city, I wouldn't want nobody moving next door to me raising rabbits if I didn't want no rabbits. Because 6 rabbits could create a serious problem. I mean, even without a boy rabbit, I'm just saying, I don't know. It looked like to me,
all right.
I don't really know exactly what I have against this bill, but I just don't like this. For some
Okay,
reason.
all right, that's been established. Next on the list is Chairman Carr.
Thank you, Chairman. Sponsor, could you go over that again where you said, first of all, that a city could not ban the chickens or rabbits? And then you come on down and you said that they could make an ordinance about them. Could you explain that a little bit more to me?
Chairman Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the point is, it's you either got property rights or you don't. So on your property that you would like to have a backyard garden, and we're saying to the cities, towns, you can't ban that, but we're saying that you can regulate it. So like Representative Shaw says, so it doesn't get out of control with smell and mess and everything else. And of course, most of your city ordinances, when your grass gets too tall or you got junk cars sitting everywhere, they're going to tell you to clean up your mess.
Chairman Carr for a follow-up.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess, well, if you couldn't ban them, but you then can control them. So does your bill set the limit? Does it set the limit?
It does, yes, sir.
Chairman Reedy,
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Representative Raper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And one question for the sponsor. If there's already an ordinance in place in an area, do they have to adhere to this new law or are they grandfathered in?
Chairman Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would assume every time that we pass a bill, if we can't go back in time to undo something. So I'm going to say that they'd probably be grandfathered in.
Yeah, without objection, we'll go out of session and hear from legal services on the matter. Representative Raper, would you like to ask your question to legal?
Sure. Does this bill, if you already have an ordinance in place as far as banning these, does this bill supersede that where you have to get rid of that ordinance and you have to allow these animals?
Legal services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, Josh Houston, Legal Services. So there is no grandfather clause in this legislation. So any ordinances or resolutions that are in force at this point would be voided by the passage of this bill.
Thank you. Representative Shaw for legal.
Legal, so if the rabbits happen to be producing at the wrong time, you could wind up with more rabbits than you bargained for. Is that what? I'm serious about that. Yeah.
Legal services, how you answer that?
I'm not an expert in rabbit reproduction, but I mean, it would be on the homeowner to regulate that and spay and neuter if that's a possibility with rabbits. I'm not even sure. I assume it is. But then once they've reached the limit of whatever the limit is that is set, because this is just a limit, as you can't say that anything less than 6 or 6 or fewer. So if the ordinance says you could have 20, then you could have 20 rabbits or chickens.
Representative Martin for legal.
Yes, can you give me the definition of an adult rabbit?
Represent legal services.
Unfortunately, I do not have an idea of what an adult rabbit is, other than one that's of reproductive age, I suppose would be a measure of that.
Representative Martin.
I just think it's interesting that the language talks about chickens, but then it doesn't talk about adult chickens, but then it talks about adult rabbits. I'm just trying to understand why and what the difference is, which goes to Representative Shaw's statement a little while ago. Thank you.
Legal, sir. Okay. Chairman Reedy for legal.
Well, this is actually to the representative. In rabbits, we call them bucks and does. Thank you.
Next on this list is Representative Stevens for legal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment says it does not apply to a homeowners association or other similar entity organized by restrictive covenants and governing documents. What if a neighborhood has restrictive covenants but no homeowners association? Would this ordinance override the restrictive covenants, or do they have to have a homeowners association for this to apply?
Legal services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Houston, Legal Services. So yes, it's any similar entity organized by restrictive covenants. So if the restrictive covenant says that you can't have these animals, then you wouldn't be able to have those animals. You would not.
Representative Stevens, you have a follow-up?
I'm not sure I agree with that, because it talks about an entity organized by the restrictive covenant. So if you don't have a homeowners association, I'm not sure that your restrictive covenants would remain in force if this bill were to pass.
Legal services.
I suppose you're right that it does say similar entity, so it would have to be some sort of body that has some sort of control over that development.
Any other questions for legal? Seeing none, we'll go back in session. And I have Representative Love on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my question may have been answered when it was asked about, like Nashville, that has a ordinance that currently is in force. It appears as though this particular bill would wipe that out, and they'd have to come back and try to comply with that. So I'm gonna have difficulty supporting this legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to the sponsor, I know each year we encourage our children when they get to the fourth grade to participate in 4-H at a lot of schools, and they have a little chicken program where they can bring home baby chicks and they raise them. Would this, if they lived within the city of where this was in place, would that be a violation of this law? I don't know how many chickens they get, but I would imagine it's more than 6.
Chairman Reedy.
That's a great question. And of course, me growing up on a postage stamp size farm, that's how me and my brothers and sister got started in 4-H and FFA later. It's with chicken 4-H, believe it or not, but that's always a starting place. And I would hate to think that localities are taking that away, where if somebody wants to be part of 4-H or FFA, if they wanted any type of animals, they'd have to move out of the city.
Chairman Doggett, follow up. All right. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we, before this committee, that we send this to a summer study and study about the rabbits and chickens and all, and make sure we do this right.
That is a proper motion, and we do have a second. Give me 1 second here to counsel. All right, gentlemen, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1850 to move out to summer study. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill goes to summer study. I'm sorry to do you that way. I want to be in the know on that one. Make sure she knows. Who would have ever thought when we were in,
sorry, you said it is no square.
who would have ever thought when we were in elementary school, we would be debating rabbits and chickens? All right, item 23, House Bill 2996 has been requested by the sponsor Stevens to be rolled 1 week. Without objection, we will roll that 1 week. Item 24, House Bill 1880 by Representative Wright. You got a proper motion and second. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I present from my seat?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is House Bill 1880, dealing with Public Building Authority loans or interim financing. This bill streamlines the financing process for local government infrastructure projects by removing the need for the Comptroller's Office to issue an unnecessary report. Local governments often use interim financing or temporary short-term financing to fund the design and construction of infrastructure projects. This interim financing means they only draw money when they need it. It saves on interest and also helps with the process of getting the long-term financing USDA loans. Once the project is complete, the local government will then issue permanent long-term financing to repay the interim financing. Under current law, this duplicate reporting requires the local government utilize interim financing options, and the comptroller is deferred on this bill and was involved in drafting the language, and I ask for your support on this bill and am seated for question.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Do we have any questions for the sponsor? Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As is our norm, has this been, is this a local, is that, and has it been approved by City Council and County Commission?
This has not. This has been brought by the state or the administration, put it that way.
Representative McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have you reached out to the Knox County and City of Knoxville about how they feel about this piece of legislation?
Vice Chairman Wright,
I have not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
any other questions for the sponsor? Question has been called. We're ready to vote on House Bill 1880. All those in favor of it moving on to calendar and rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Give me 1 second here.
I did not know that.
All right, folks, we're on item 25, House Bill 1980 by Vice Chairman Wright. Do I have a motion? Proper motion in second. I do see we have an amendment. Can you please give us your drafting code?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 1-4.
Would you like us to place it on the bill for discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, we're voting on Amendment 14621 going on to House Bill 1980. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. You're recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. This House Bill 1980 comes to us from Presbyterian Homes of Tennessee, a 501c3 recognized entity doing business as Shannondale Homes. The brief explanation is that they undertook to renovate one of their homes. They added 2 additional parcels of property. They built new buildings, and for an interim period of approximately 3 years total, they did not pay property tax because they had not appropriately amended their 501c3. Upon being notified of their being in arrears in property tax, they fixed that. The comptroller has it rectified. They're asking for recouping the amount of money that they paid above and beyond what they normally would have paid if their paperwork was correct. This is comparable to the same action that the legislature took on East Tennessee Children's Hospital in 2018. And with that brief explanation, I'll be seated for questions.
You've heard the explanation of the amended bill. Is there any questions for the sponsor? Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote on House Bill 1980. Moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means. Next on today's agenda is House Bill 2080 by Vice Chairman Wright. He has asked that this be rolled to the heel of the calendar. Without objection, it'll be rolled to the heel. Item 27, House Bill 2368 by Chairman Carr. Got a proper motion in second. I do see we have some drafting codes, Chairman. Would you please give us the drafting code of which one you want to put on the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may, from the dais, please. Yes, drafting code 15807.
That is correct. Do I have a motion on the amendment? Proper motion in second. Would you like us to place the amendment on the bill for discussion?
Please, sir.
Without objection, we're voting on Amendment 15807 going on to House Bill 2368. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may explain what the amendment does, it does not rewrite the whole bill. It just clarifies definitions, changes the assessment language to mirror existing statutes, and the comptroller wanted us to add an audit language requested by the comptroller's office, and it ensures that these districts only apply to property owners opting in to the process. And what this bill does, it has a process where we know when the developer goes out and he develops some land and everything, he usually puts the infrastructure in himself and pays for all that, and that sometimes can be a burdensome on the developer because he's got all this money tied up in infrastructure before he actually starts to build a house or build any property. And with this, if it is opted in and by the developer and also by the entity that's going to be bonding this entity, say like an ID board, an industrial board, can bond this, and they pay the developer back his infrastructure cost, and then that way they can take that infrastructure cost and get to started on and building the houses quicker and more at one time. Also, everything in this is all is insured. The ID bonds, the underwriters underwrites the bonds, and therefore, if the developer were to go bankrupt or the Industrial Development Board itself goes under, all this would still be paid. Now, the way that bond is paid back, that after those, they take that infrastructure money and they divide that among the lots. And so every time that one of those houses is sold, that is added to that price to pay back the bond. Where if a builder had to pay all the infrastructure at one time, he would probably add a whole lot more to that lot to get his money back. This ensures that only whatever the cost of the infrastructure is added to that particular assessment to pay back the bonds, makes it for a better, for the home developer, makes it better to get those houses built quicker, and therefore it helps on our housing shortage that we have. And with that, I stand for questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2368, moving on to Finance, Ways and Means. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee.
Next on today's agenda is House Bill 2623 by Representative Carr. Do I have a motion? Proper motion in second. I do see we have a drafting code. Please give us your drafting code, sir.
Thank you, sir. I have 13023.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Hang on a minute. I'm sorry. That is the bill. The drafting code that I have is 014174.
That is correct. Got a proper motion and second on the amendment. Would you like us to place it on the bill for discussion?
Yes, sir, please.
All in favor of amendment number 14174 going on to House Bill 2623, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Your bill is now amended. You're recognized on your amended bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What the amendment does, it does not make the bill, but this bill allows the municipality to establish a voluntary attainable housing incentive program. The amendment simply limits the types of structure or facilities that may be included in any such program to multi-family housing, and the amendment defines that multi-family housing to mean a building or a facility that includes at least 5 attainable rental units. Now, what the bill does itself is if I'm a builder and I'm out here on a lot and it's been for residential purposes R2, but I could put a duplex on it. But if I think that if I could put a quadplex or sixplex on it, and I would make it more attainable and I could probably rent it at a lower rate because I can build more houses, this would give the person that's doing this the option to get with the city, and him and the city would opt in, and the city could change some of its building codes. In other words, it could take that lot and say, okay, we're going to make the setbacks smaller. We're going to give you don't have to have as many parking spaces, and make it feasible for that person that's going to build these 5 units or more to build on that particular lot and still be able to rent this out at an economical rate, and therefore, again, help us on our shortage of our housing project. And with that, I stand for questions.
You've heard the explanation of the sponsor. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Shaw.
No, I don't want consent studies, summer study. Sorry.
No, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Sponsor. Now, you talked about the builder and the city getting together and maybe tweaking some codes. This wouldn't mean you get tiny car parking lots when you need regular sizes and all those type things that would go along with that. If it's an apartment, a complex duplex or something like that, everything would remain, I guess for lack of asking you the right way, it would remain in a normal fashion. It wouldn't cut back on services, anything like that.
Chairman Carr.
This bill allows the local community, if they want to, planning commission, to reset the regulations if they need to. Most time in apartments, and if they figure there's going to be 4 people in there, they try for about 3 cars. They may cut it back to 2 cars, but you got to have a certain size at all times to park a car. I'll agree with that. But it may cut the number of spaces back instead of the normal number of spaces, cut them back to 2 or whatever, sir.
Representative Shaw.
And I do realize that the owner or renter, whatever, would have a choice, have a chance to make a choice. But I guess the only thing I'm concerned about is if it's a duplex with 4 families, I wouldn't want them to wind up with 2 parking spaces. I mean, I would at least want them to have the regular parking spaces they need if that's where they're going to make it their home. I think that's the only thing that concerns me about. I think I like the idea of giving an opportunity to build more duplexes and all of that, but I wouldn't want families to be cut short of services because of that.
Thank you, Chairman. I won't speak to all cities, but I know in my particular city that they look at the apartment and the number of bedrooms, and sometimes if there's 2 people per bedroom, they put like 2.5 times parking places, like 2.5, and then you add all those up and you might get extra parking places. I'm sure they'd have to have enough parking, and they would realize that to establish anybody that might be able to live in that particular apartment.
Any other questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 2623. All those in favor of it moving on to Finance, Ways and Means, please say aye. Opposed, no. Bill moves on to Finance, Ways and Means.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. Move him out of that chair. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
All right, gentlemen, we're about to run out of time, and at this time, we need a motion and a second to roll the remaining bills to next available calendar. Got a proper motion and second. All those in favor of moving it to next available calendar say aye. Opposed, no. Before we close, does any of the members have any announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Proper motion, we're adjourned.